The episode opens with a quick look at the world of heroes. Two security guards talk outside the White House, sharing family stories and joking around. Everything seems peaceful until the ground starts shaking. A dangerous group of villains known as the Mauler twins attacks the White House, planning a massive destruction. Just as things get out of hand, the world's strongest superhero team, the Guardians of the Globe, arrive and save the day. The team includes heroes clearly inspired by familiar icons like Darkwing, Red Rush, War Woman, and others. But overshadowing all of them is Omni Man, the Earth's greatest protector. After this action-packed opening, we move to a normal suburb. Here we meet Mark Grayson, a regular teenager dealing with bullying, homework, and a part-time job. But there is nothing ordinary about his family, his father, Nolan, who is Omni Man, and Mark has been waiting his whole life for his powers to kick in. At breakfast, Mark asks his dad when his powers will come. Nolan tells him it will happen eventually, but both parents can feel Mark's frustration. After all, being the son of the most powerful man on the planet comes with expectations. Then it's time when Mark's life changes. One day, while Mark is taking out the trash at work, he throws a garbage bag and it flies all the way into space. This is the moment he realizes his powers have finally arrived. He rushes home excited. His mother, Debbie, is relieved and happy. Nolan, though extremely happy, knows this means Mark must start training immediately. Nolan takes Mark to a remote area and begins teaching him how to fly, land, and control his will to might strength. But their training doesn't go perfectly. Mark accidentally injures himself, and when he gets emotional, Nolan gets angry. For the first time, Mark sees a slightly darker side of his father, a strict, almost harsh warrior mindset. Even though things get tense, Mark pushes through and improves rapidly. He even chooses his superhero name, Invincible, after getting a name, Mark wanting to be a real hero. Then we saw Mark's first fight. Mark spots two villains robbing a bank. He jumps in to stop them, but things go wrong. His punches are uncoordinated, his fighting instincts are weak, and he gets thrown around. But he refuses to give up. By the end, he manages to help stop the attack. Though not perfect, it's his first real step toward becoming a superhero. Now comes the part that changed superhero storytelling forever. Later that night, the Guardians of the Globe receive an emergency call and rush to their headquarters. They gather, confused. There is no threat, no alert, no enemy. Then suddenly, Omni Man appears. Before they can understand what's happening, he attacks them with full force. No hesitation, no mercy, and no explanation. Each hero fights with everything they have, but Omni Man is faster, stronger, and completely unstoppable. What was once Earth's strongest team is destroyed, one hero at a time, in one brutal and intense battle. Red Rush breaks his hands trying to save his teammates. War Woman struggles with her last breath. The team is confused to the very end, unable to understand why their greatest ally is killing them. Finally, Omni Man collapses from exhaustion, surrounded by the bodies of the world's most heroic defenders. The world was unaware of this massacre. Mark sleeps peacefully at home, dreaming of his bright superhero future, having no idea of the nightmare his father has just created. This scene sets the tone for the entire series and introduces the biggest mystery of the show. Why did Omni Man kill the Guardians of the Globe? The Global Defense Agency rushes in and finds the bodies. They are shocked. The Guardians were Earth's strongest heroes. Omni Man is found barely alive, covered in blood, pretending to be a victim. He is immediately taken to a secret hospital where doctors try to save him. But even in this weakened state, Omni Man is so powerful that the machines struggle to contain him. This scene sets the tone. The world thinks a villain attacked the heroes, but we know the truth. Meanwhile, exploring Mark's personal life, his emotions, his romantic interests, and the complicated balance between love and superhero duty. Mark Grayson, who is now officially invincible, is trying to balance normal school life with superhero life, but things aren't easy. He is exhausted, emotionally confused, and dealing with pressure from all sides. Then love angle begins. At school, Mark notices meets Amber Bennett, a confident and strong girl who isn't afraid to challenge others. Mark likes her instantly and he tries to act normal around her, but being a superhero pulls him away again and again. This is where Mark's emotional journey begins. He wants to be a hero, but he also wants a normal teenage life and he wants to explore this new spark with Amber. This constant conflict becomes a running theme throughout the entire series. Suddenly, the city is attacked by an alien race called the Flaxons. They arrive through portals and start destroying everything. Mark jumps into the battle but quickly realizes he is not experienced enough. Just then, the teen teams arrive, a junior superhero group consisting of Atom Eve, Rex Explode, Robot, and Duplicate. Together, they push back the alien invaders. After the battle, Mark finally meets Atom Eve, and this becomes another important moment in his personal journey. Eve is strong, confident, and understands exactly what Mark is going through. She sees potential in him and invites him to work with the teen team. And most importantly, Eve is someone Mark can talk to, someone who understands being a superhero, someone who gets him in a way Amber cannot. This is where the love triangle begins forming. Mark has a crush on Amber, but he is clearly drawn toward Eve. And what about Eve? She feels curious about Mark too, even though she is dating Rex Explode. After being driven away, the Flaxons suddenly return, but this time older, more advanced, and far more dangerous. Mark and Eve team up again, and their chemistry is obvious. They fight well together, they communicate naturally, they trust each other instantly. This is the beginning of the Invincible's deeper connection with Eve. The Flaxons, however, come prepared with advanced tech. They overwhelm the heroes again until Robot figures out their secret. That time moves differently in the Flaxons dimension. When they retreat, they age rapidly, adapt, and return stronger each time. Using this knowledge, the heroes manage to defeat them temporarily. Back at home, Mark feels emotional weight of being a superhero. Debbie reminds him, being a superhero is hard, but being a good person is even harder. This moment grounds Mark emotionally and motivates him to keep improving. Finally, Omni Man wakes up from the hospital. Mark rushes to see him, and for a moment, Nolan acts like the supportive father Mark believes he is. He tells Mark how proud he is, but his expression hints at something darker. We, the audience, know the truth. Nolan is manipulating him. The next day, at school, Mark tries to talk to Amber again, but gets distracted by superhero duties. Eve notices the disappointment in his eyes, and she understands him in a way Amber cannot. Mark thinks Amber is beautiful and brave. Mark feels emotionally understood by Eve. Eve begins noticing Mark's potential. Both girls become important in his journey. This love conflict becomes a major emotional arc throughout the season. The Flaxons attack one last time, stronger than ever. This time, Omni Man arrives, and what he does is terrifying. At first, he kills all the aliens brutally, and he follows the aliens back through their portal and genocides their entire dimension. He wipes out millions effortlessly, proving he is far more ruthless than anyone knows. He returns home covered in alien blood, casually, as if nothing happened. But the biggest mystery remains. What is Omni Man hiding? The world is grieving the sudden death of the Guardians of the Globe. Millions watch the funeral on TV, unaware that Omni Man, one of the speakers standing sadly on the stage, is the true killer. At the funeral, heroes bow their heads. Nolan gives a touching speech, acting heartbroken. Debbie stands beside him, believing her husband was almost killed during the attack. But the audience sees something else. Omni Man's eyes are cold, his voice is calm, and there is not a bit of regret. Nolan comes home after a funeral and demands pizza. Seeing this, Debbie becomes amazed that how can he ask for a pizza? Coolness of Nolan reflects that something is wrong, and Debbie can sense it. Meanwhile, Cecil and the GDA still have no idea who killed the Guardians. Cecil suspects something feels off, but Omni Man is too strong to question directly. To maintain stability, the GDA begins forming a new Guardians team led by Robot. While the world is breaking apart, Mark tries to live a normal teenage life again. At school, Mark is getting closer to Amber. She likes his kindness but notices he disappears often. Mark wants to spend more time with her, but his superhero duties keep pulling him away. At the same time, Mark's bond with Atom Eve grows stronger. They train together, they understand each other's dual life, and they have natural chemistry. This is where the love triangle truly begins. Amber represents represents Mark's dream of a normal life, and Eve represents the superhero life he can't escape. Mark is emotionally stuck between two worlds and two girls. Meanwhile, Robot begins training and selecting the new team. The members include Atom Eve, Rex Explode, Monster Girl, Black Samson, and Duplicate. The training goes horribly at first. Rex is arrogant, Monster Girl loses her temper, and the team coordination is weak. Robot watches them carefully. I mean, too carefully. His cold, emotionless leadership feels strange, like he is observing them for a deeper purpose. We don't know it yet, but Robot's story is far more complicated. While training with Eve, Mark opens up about his presence to live up to Omni Man, his fear of falling, his struggle balancing personal life, and his confusion about Amber versus Eve. Eve listens calmly. She reassures him that her presence gives him comfort that Mark can't get from Amber. Even Eve begins seeing Mark as someone she can rely on emotionally more than her boyfriend Rex. This is where the connection deepens on her side too. Apart from this, the government assigns Omni Man a global peace mission, but Nolan casually refuses. He tells the GDA that his time is too valuable to waste on pointless tasks. Cecil is bothered. Debbie notices his attitude change. This is one of the first cracks in Nolan's fake good guy mask. Then Mark learns about an important mission. A NASA spaceship heading to Mars needs superhero protection. Omni Man doesn't want to go, so Mark volunteers instead. It's the first time he chooses hero duties over personal relaxation. This decision is symbolic. Mark is growing up, he is taking responsibility, and he is pursuing his own path, not just following his dad. Before leaving, Mark tries to talk to Amber, but ends up awkwardly rushing away for hero walk again. Eve notices the frustration in his eyes. This makes her quietly care for him even more. Mark takes off into space and flies towards Mars with excitement, fear, and hope. For the first time in his life, he feels responsible, independent, and truly invincible. This mission will shape his identity much more than he expects. While Mark is away, Eve goes to see Rex explode and catches him kissing Duplicate. Her heart shatters. Up until now, Eve believed Rex was flawed but loyal. Now she realizes he is selfish, immature, and disrespectful. She walks away in tears. And who does she think about for comfort? It was Mark. On the other hand, Nolan, Omni Man, tries bonding with Debbie, but there is tension. Debbie is beginning to notice odd behavior, small clues that something is not right. Nolan tells her he wants to show her the world and takes her on an expensive date, but deep down we know why he is doing this. Omni Man is trying to distract her from asking tough questions. This manipulation becomes even clearer later in the season. Meanwhile, Mark lands on Mars and visuals shifts to a dry red desert. He is supposed to stay invincible, observe the astronauts, and keep them safe from danger. But Mark being Mark, he falls asleep. When he wakes up, the astronauts are missing. He panics because if something happens to them, Earth will blame him and his father will be furious. Mark explores Mars and eventually gets captured by native Martians. He is brought before the Martian Emperor, who reveals something terrifying. A dangerous alien parasite species called Sequids live on Mars. They attach to hosts and take control of their mind and spread like a virus. If just one Sequid reaches Earth, humanity could fall. And the Emperor believes the NASA astronauts might be already be infected. Mark argues that the astronauts are innocent, but the Martians don't trust humans. To them, the astronauts are potential carriers, so they decide all astronauts must be executed. Mark refuses to let innocent humans die under his watch. What follows is a tense and entertaining chase sequence. Mark grabs the astronauts, the Martians chase them, Sequids begin awakening, chaos erupts everywhere. This is the first mission where Mark truly feels the pressure of protecting lives. Mark gets all astronauts onto the ship and launches back to Earth. But what he doesn't realize is one of the astronauts is actually a Martian shapeshifter, and the real astronaut remained behind and now captured. The Sequid-controlled astronaut on Mars begins merging with the parasite hive, forming a massive mind-controlled Martian monster. This danger will return in the future, and it's all because of Mark's innocent mistake. While Mark is away on Mars, Eve Eve is going through emotional turmoil. She breaks up with Rex Explode after catching him cheating with Duplicate. She tries to focus on hero work, but her heart feels heavy. Eve visits Mark's house, hoping to talk to him. Maybe not romantically, but emotionally. She misses the one person who truly understood her, and Mark, without realizing it, becomes more important in her emotional journey. Meanwhile, Debbie starts noticing small inconsistencies in Nolan's tone, behavior, dismissive attitude toward the Guardians, and a strange calmness after tragedy. She begins silently questioning him. This quiet suspicion is the first major step toward uncovering the truth of Omni Man. During their romantic vacation, Nolan saves Debbie from a falling dragon, but instead of immediately helping, he casually waits for a local hero to handle it. Why? Because Omni Man doesn't like wasting time on small emergencies. Debbie's expression shows confusion. These teeny clues foreshadow the monster hiding beneath the surface. Mark returns to Earth. At school, Amber sees him again. He tries to act normal, tries to connect, and tries to build something real with her. But the lies are already starting. He lies about where he was. He lies about why he disappeared. And he lies to protect his identity. And these lies will eventually hurt them both. The Martian Emperor watches the captured astronaut, who is now fully controlled by sequids. Millions of sequids swarm around him, forming a gigantic hive mind. Let's see what happens next. I will be back with the next part of this video, where we will get to know about the other face of Omni Man and how will his identity reveal, and also about Mark's love trio, and the most important thing, the threat of Martians. Alright, see you soon.